Today we're going to talk a little bit about the Explore activity badge for the Beaver sections. As you can see here on screen, here are the requirements for the badge, and I'm going to go through some additional badges that you can link this one to, especially in terms of how it says Explore, and sort of going on a little bit of an expedition. This can certainly link into some other badges that are more to do with navigation and things like that, which are actually staged and actually transfer between not just Beavers but the Cubs and Scout sections too. So if you bundle this up into a hike of some kind, then that could be a very interesting way of combining badges together in a very interesting way. So before we do that, I'm just going to cover out very simply what we have as different requirements here. Decide where to explore, the seashore, forest or park, woodland or town. It sort of says that you should be deciding this as a beaver. I would say that leaders and explorer young leaders perhaps should really present different options of local parks or forests and have the beavers vote on perhaps which one they'd like to go to. That would cover out this requirement, although obviously as a leader you can sort of bend the rules a little bit about badge requirements if that seems a little bit beyond the scope of what your beavers can do. Um, I would mention, however, that by having the beavers actively participate and choose what they want to do, that's one of the principles of youth-shaped scouting, which is one of the new changes that's happening inside the Scout Association. And by making sure that you include the beavers in the decision-making process here, they can actually earn their U-Shape awards, which are one of the rarer awards currently in scouting because they require a large amount of participation within the program by the young people. So by doing this, you could potentially get the beavers something along the lines of the plan element of the U-Shape award, or perhaps even the central badge of the U-Shape award if they suggest something that you haven't listed. Moving on anyways, we have the think about what you expect to find. This can mean a lot of different things. Obviously, it's the things to do with the wildlife and the plants, things of that nature. I would mention here that if you can combine this into the gardener activity badge, there is one part of that which is to do with finding out what happens to trees in different seasons. If you mention, how do you think the trees and the hedgerows and the bushes will look like? That's a very simple question to ask that would also tick off one of those requirements for the gardener badge at the same time. Additionally, if you think a little bit about how you can talk about environmental impact, perhaps if there is litter in a certain area, you can talk a little bit about this, and then that would also count towards the global issues activity badge at the same time. From there, I would also mention that you could actually talk about things like the Green Cross Code and other similar things of how to interact with the wilderness. That would count towards the safety activity badge as well. So there's a lot of different things that you can sort of put together here. Um, I'd also mention that if you find a way somehow to bring along, for example, cameras, that would count towards the photographer activity badge, where they'd be able to take a number of different photos of what they see out in the park or wherever they are happen to be going. And that would be a very easy way to combine things together and give the beavers a little bit more interaction with the environment around them. Other than this, obviously going on the exploration is a very big part of this. It's going out actually into one of these areas, getting out of the hut and into the outer world. And obviously, as part of scouting as a whole, we really try to run as much as we can outside of the hut and in the sort of great outdoors and things like that, as that's part of the origins of scouting. And being inside a hut is nice and safe and easy, but obviously enriching things with outdoor activities is one of the primary sort of goals of any program in scouting. I'd like to mention at this point that perhaps this would count as a hikes away. If it's a substantial exploration that lasts a few hours, perhaps, that would count towards the hikes away state activity badge, and it may in fact be the first hikes away sort of award they've ever got. so they can get that little 1 on their staged badge, and then obviously as they go through scouting, that will stay with them even to the end of Explorers and into Network. They'll be able to keep that staged activity badge with the hikes away and count that beaver hike as their first ever hike away. So it's worth thinking about making this exploration a little bit longer than you might expect. Um, Although I will leave it to your own discretion as about um, how ready for that kind of thing your beavers are. I would mention as well that the Navigator stage badge is to do with using maps and locating yourself. And that's also a staged badge that carries all the way up to Network and Explorers. It's something even as simple as just showing them a map of a local area. It doesn't even have to be an OS map, but just any map. Ask them where to locate themselves on that map and where they think they are. They can point out, for example, the park or the town they're in on this map. That would count towards part of that Navigator Stage activity badge as well. You can actually do something quite interesting here where if you ask the beavers to draw a map as you go, either in teams, so you can count towards things like the Teamwork Challenge Award and towards their Chief Scouts Bronze Award by doing that, or if you ask them to do it individually, regardless of what that is, if you ask them to draw a map as you go, that would count towards not only the Navigator Stage activity badge as well, but it may also count towards things like the Creative Activity badge, and perhaps even the My Skills Challenge Award by making that map as part of a creative activity. From here, there's a few other potential links that you could undertake. Mostly, I would suggest talking to them a little bit about what to wear on the exploration. So correct footwear, if they should bring a coat, things like that, which obviously they should do. Everyone outdoors as a young person should bring a coat just in case and to keep themselves warm. Things like that would certainly count towards the Navigator Stage Activity Badge too, and perhaps even the Safety Activity Badge as well, depending on how you wish to play that one out. In terms of the Chief Scouts Bronze Award more directly, the My Outdoors Challenge Award, that does count for sort of going out into the wild. If you make this part of a sort of put a wide game in here somewhere, perhaps at a midpoint on the exploration before you head back home, if you put a wide game in there, that counts towards a My Outdoors Challenge Award. Additionally, if you think about some kind of way that you can incorporate a game or an activity using things like leaves, twigs, or rocks, that counts towards another part of the My Outdoors Challenge Award too. If you're clever enough to know about different animals or trees and things like that you can see, it also counts towards the My Outdoors Challenge Award as well, in the aspect of naming and identifying 5 different types of animal that you can find near where you live. So if you talk about creepy crawlies and sort of insects, that would count as well, or birds that may be around the local area too. So there's a fair amount of stuff that you can actually incorporate into this explore. As I mentioned, there's probably half a dozen or so different badges you can count towards. Additionally, if you combine what I just mentioned in terms of identifying sort of critters out there in the wild, you can actually get the My World Challenge Awards, sort of learn about the natural world activity done, which does specify things like mini beast hunting as one of the particular activities you can undertake there too. Beyond that, the My Adventure Challenge Award also mentions things about the Green Cross Code, Green Cross Code, and also mentions that going on a ramble or nature walk with a purpose in particular would also count towards the My Adventure Challenge Award. So by undertaking this sort of explore activity badge, you can count towards, I'd say, probably 3 or 4 different, perhaps even 5 of the 6 challenge awards towards a Chief Scouts Bronze Award if you do it correctly. And additionally to that, you can earn or earn towards at least probably about 5 different activity badges, as I mentioned. So do your best with that. There's certainly a lot of things you can work with there, a lot of things you can plan into. And really it depends on what your particular beavers may be missing from their Chief Scouts Bronze Award. I'd say that if this is the first time that they're going out with the Scouts, then definitely make it as engaging as possible when you do this badge. It's very easy for some people to get distracted, especially young people, when you're doing a sort of walk around a park or something like that. But if you engage in these activities along the way, it can really help engage them and keep them preoccupied to the point that they won't realise until almost the time is over that they've been there for that long, essentially. So hopefully that's been useful, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you. Bye bye.